Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm Z.S. Caravallo from ZK Research, and I'm here in Las Vegas at AWS reInvent. I'm here in the Equinix suite with KJ Joshi. KJ, what do you do for Equinix?
I am Global Managing Director. I'm responsible for the hyperscale business, and I manage a global team.
And I do want to talk about the AWS partnership, but I think before that, I look at reInvent not really as an AWS event, but more as really the industry's largest cloud event. And I think I've certainly noticed in my customer base a big shift in cloud mentality. Part of that driven by the rise of AI. I think it puts more of an emphasis on data, right? And I think that makes you rethink how and where you store your information, how you leverage the cloud. And so I'm curious from your perspective and the customers you talk to, what's going on with cloud right now? How have things changed because of AI?
First of all, Zeus, thank you for having me. There are two or three major trends that are shaping how the cloud industry is evolving. The first one is the broader acceptance of hybrid. And when we say hybrid, the acceptance of customers looking at doing some things on-prem, some things with in public cloud. The second big area of emergence is around multi-cloud.
Yeah.
So they are certainly leveraging multiple clouds at the same time. So database could be Oracle, but they could be using AWS analytics tools. So multi-cloud is becoming a very important decision factor. And the third one is emergence of AI, which is accelerating at a much faster pace than cloud was.
Yeah, and I think AI will continue to transform cloud. And I think you're right, that the hybrid multi-cloud effect and I think the definition of multi-cloud's changed. I think a few years ago, people thought of multi-cloud as just using multiple clouds. But I think multi-cloud today, curious if you agree with this, is really trying to create one virtual cloud environment across multiple clouds.
That is correct, and connecting them.
Yeah.
So you could have data sitting in one cloud, but you could be leveraging tools of another cloud and using cloud networking. And I think that's a big emerging trend now.
Yeah, and so I know that's been an area that Equinix is focused on, cloud networking. Let's talk about that. What are some of the unique challenges with trying to connect in a multi-cloud environment, especially as a hybrid one where you have to think about on-prem too?
So there's a couple of drivers, and challenges. Number one is essentially distance. So when you have cloud regions that are sitting, you may have data, with Microsoft Azure on the West Coast, but you may have certain applications that are, sitting in AWS US East Coast. How do you do that? So connecting it across multiple regions, and also still leveraging some sort of a security framework, sovereignty. All of that is creating one layer of complexity. I think the second one is specifically around security and latency. So how do you solve for all of this in under 10 milliseconds, 15 milliseconds? So those are really an important, and then of course using it all based on software. So not making it virtual and not using physical connectivity. Yeah,
the latency part of it's interesting because it's something I think that has always been important, but again with AI is simply magnified because if you've got your compute cluster sitting idle because it's taking too long to get the data there, then in effect you're wasting a lot of money, right?
And a lot of people don't want to move the data across multiple clouds because of the ingress-egress cost element.
Yes, yeah.
And so there's also cost, latency, and cost. Both are important drivers of cloud connectivity.
All right. Now, since we're here at reInvent, talk about the broader partnership you have with AWS. I know Equinix has partnered with AWS for a long time. So
yes, we have been partners with AWS since 2003. So this is our 21st year of serving and growing with AWS.
That's a long time.
It's a very long time. Yeah. So we've been providing services, and we provide services to not just AWS, the full spectrum of Amazon. So it's Amazon, MGM, Zoox, Whole Foods, a whole portfolio is in our partnership. The second area is we are also Amazon's and AWS's largest interconnection partner. So today we have 49 direct connect locations. That makes us one of the largest. In fact, we are the largest interconnection partner. And we are also now supporting different workloads like AI and CloudFront and Kuiper. And so there's a really broad set of applications and use cases that we're now supporting with AWS.
Okay, and so that's on the infrastructure side. You're also a marketplace participant, right?
Yes.
And so talk about that.
Absolutely. So we have now launched 2 of our digital products, IP-WAN and Fabric Cloud Router on AWS Marketplace. They're generally available in 9 locations in the US, and we're actively working on adding new products in international markets, as well as expanding the existing portfolio.
And talk about those 2 products. What do they do?
So yeah, Fabric Cloud Router essentially allows a software-based connectivity that allows you connecting 2 different clouds, using basically our switching fabric. It's a layer 3 connectivity. And then IP-WAN is using our backbone to connect 2 clouds in 2 different regions. So customers don't necessarily have to buy their own backbone or connectivity, and it's all virtual, it's all software managed, and that essentially helps the customers connect 2 different clouds in 2 different regions. So that's IP-WAN. Fabric Cloud Router enables connectivity, between 2 clouds.
And do customers often buy those together?
It depends. Not all customers have workloads sitting in 2 different regions. So IP-WAN is a very specific use case. In many cases, they are just looking to connect within the same region.
And do you think customers fully understand the benefit of doing that over a private network versus, because I still talk to a lot of customers that tend to run over the public internet?
They don't. And again, 3 major issues here. One is the privacy element. Security is the second one. And the third one is the cost. It's a lot more expensive to run, on public networks. So I don't think customers understand that.
Yeah, it's interesting that when you think of internet, you think it's free.
Yes.
Right? But actually, it's maybe the most expensive free out there, right? So,
and the experience, the customer experience is very variable. As you can see, sometimes when you are streaming Netflix at home, the speeds vary, and the quality of the QoS is variable. It's primarily because of the packets are getting delivered at different speeds. When you're on a private network, the speed and the consistency is very important, and you get the same experience. Yeah.
Now AI was certainly a big part of the show, and I'm curious, from the conversations you're having with customers, what are the kinds of things they're trying to do, they're looking to do today?
Many of them are running POCs right now. They're not running full-scale projects. It's still early days. We have seen several POCs with our customers in partnership with AWS and other cloud providers. And I think it's going to go mainstream probably next year. It's still today constrained by availability of GPUs, availability of manpower internally in terms of skills. And third one is primarily the data. There are a lot of constraints on how clean the data is. So the customers are struggling with having training models built because the data is still not very clean.
Yeah, I think actually, and I've talked to a lot of customers with AI initiatives underway, getting them from proof of concept to production is very difficult.
Yes.
I think 2 of the biggest areas that hold customers back, Equinix can address. One of them is the biggest issue, well, maybe second biggest, is governance, and then security. Those 2 kind of go hand in hand. And I think it's interesting that governance has almost had a rebirth with data because of where your data is located, data
sovereignty, privacy laws, absolutely.
Yeah, and so how do you, when you have customers that have those issues, the Equinix almost seems like a no-brainer there, right?
Yes, and so we obviously are working with our cloud partners where a lot of training models get built and trained in the public cloud. But when it comes to running inferencing, we are working actively with our customers on both private and a hybrid AI solution, because private AI is, especially when at scale, is a lot more cost effective when running it in an on-prem environment. And in many cases, you could also run a hybrid AI solution, which could be partial in the cloud and partially on-prem.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up inferencing, because during his keynote yesterday, Matt Garman brought up inferencing, and he called it the 4th building block.
Yes.
For cloud infrastructure, right? Compute, storage, database, and inferencing.
Yeah.
And are you seeing do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially a lot of inferencing now in the future is going to be done on the edge and on the far edge. IoT use cases, you'll see automotive, anything that's mobile. Yeah. All of those inferencing instances will have to be done on the edge. Sometimes they are fully mobile. And in many cases, they have to be in factory environments, in branches of company offices. So yes, edge inferencing is going to become a very important and a 4th pillar.
Yeah, okay, KJ. And so just last question for people watching this. Obviously, the infrastructure you put in place and the network you have in place is going to have a big impact on the success of your AI initiatives. So what kind of advice can you give them as they're thinking about heading down the AI path, how they should think about that foundational infrastructure to drive all their AI initiatives?
I would say get into contracts now because power is becoming a very big constraint. We are actively working on locking down power and land, 2 to 3, 5 years out now, because if there's one area that your growth will be constrained by, it's actually going to be capacity, and that's limited by power.
Yeah, actually, that's good advice. And I do know there's a lot of talk about nuclear, SMRs, things like that helping power, but I don't think we've certainly licked that yet. So
yeah, and it's not a short-term solution.
Yeah.
Nuclear is at least 7 years away. Solar is not reliable, and it's not throughout. Geothermal is still emerging.
Yeah.
So a lot of these sources are going to take some time. And people are starting to use gas, but it's very expensive.
Yeah.
And it's not green.
All right. Well, that sounds like a lot of bad choices. So, all right. So lock in now, though. Sure.
Lock in now is probably a good idea.
All right. So anything else you want to add?
No, thank you again for the opportunity. Yeah. And if there's any other questions, please feel free to reach out to Equinix.
All right, KJ. Well, I appreciate having you on.
And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
So on behalf of KJ Joshi from Equinix, I'm ZS Caraval from ZK Research from AWS reInvent, saying thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time on the next episode of ZKast.